Breaking news here on a Monday as the Dallas Cowboys have paid CeeDee Lamb a massive 4-year contract extension as they give him $136 million, $100 million guaranteed, and the largest signing bonus for a receiver ever at $38 million. I'm going to tell you why this is a pretty easy deal to do for the Cowboys with more analysis as well, plus some other NFL news items to dive into. But this is why you subscribe. When big news drops, we're going to react to it here on 4Verts. And we are 41 subscribers away from 2,000 here on the channel. If we get there by tomorrow or whatever day we get there, we'll drop 2 episodes that day, regardless of what the news cycle is. So help us out. Hit that sub button. We're going to keep you guys in the loop on a daily basis, both NFL and college football. When you examine this CeeDee Lamb deal, it's kind of an easy one to do if you're Dallas, and I've been critical of Jerry Jones for being cheap because prior to this deal, they had spent the least amount of cash in the NFL this offseason. Now, this probably gets them out of last place. I don't have the numbers in front of me, probably 30th now, but at least you do the obvious and keep your best offensive player for the foreseeable future because unlike Brandon Ayuk in San Francisco, Lamb had all the leverage here. Because when you examine the two situations, it's pretty clear. One, CeeDee's a better player than Brandon Ayuk. He's in a tier above him. He just is. 2, the Cowboys' offensive weapons after CeeDee Lamb are pretty ordinary. I like Jake Ferguson. He's a solid ascending tight end, but the running backs stink. Zeke is washed. I don't like Rico Dowdle very much. Deuce Vaughn, at best, is a change of pace back. Their other receivers are an aged Brandon Cooks, who's okay, but he's not what he was. Jalen Tolbert, who had a nice camp in preseason, but he's completely unproven. And a bunch of guys average NFL fans have never heard of, if we're being completely honest. Whereas if you look at San Francisco, yeah, they would miss Brandon Ayuk if they don't get that situation resolved, but at least they still have Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, players who are all better than what the Cowboys have after CeeDee Lamb. So Jerry and the boys really didn't have a decision here. You know, they can nibble over a few $1 million here and there as much as they want. They were pretty much going to have to meet what CeeDee demanded. I'm sure Lamb wanted to top Justin Jefferson, but he comes in just below. Compromise there, he gets a $38 million signing bonus. So I think this is kind of one of those rare win-win deals, but CeeDee had the Cowboys by the balls. I mean, let's just call it what it is. They had no choice but to pay him because if he doesn't show up week 1, week 2, week 3, you're not going to be explosive offensively. Like, Dak Prescott's a really good quarterback, but I don't think he's putting together a top 5 offense with Brandon Cooks and Jake Ferguson in a run game that I expect to decline compared to the last couple of years. So this was a no-brainer. CeeDee held out, got what he wanted at the end of the day. Now Dallas ramps up for a critical year. We'll see if Dak Prescott gets a new deal. I don't think Micah Parsons is going to get one at this point. He's probably next offseason. But at least you got Lamb done because, hey, you didn't really have a choice at the end of the day. Let's move up to the Northeast, the New England Patriots. Could Drake Maye start week 1? Should Drake Maye start week 1? Jerod Mayo admitted on radio this morning, the Patriots head coach, that he has outplayed veteran Jacoby Brissett. And anybody with a pair of eyes, just in the preseason games, forget training camp, would say the same thing. That Drake Maye has looked much better than Brissett. Brissett's been a little bit erratic. Maye, granted, playing with the twos more, has made a few wow throws in his preseason action. He looks like the player I thought coming out of college. Yeah, he's going to have a random miss here and there that's going to leave you scratching your head, but he's got a rocket of an arm. He's mobile. He had a damn good throw rolling out left on a scramble drill that would have gone for about a 50-yard touchdown, but it got called back due to an illegal formation. He looks good. He looks good. Now, I still think Brissett's going to start, and here's why. Because what Maye is going to be working with around him, most notably the offensive line, is quite frankly embarrassing. Their offensive line is a joke. Both their tackles stink. Micah Winu's a solid player at guard, but they had to pay him premium money, and he's not a premium player. Their other center and guard are average to below average players. It's not a good group up front. So, for the lack of a better term, I think Brissett will start and kind of be the sacrificial lamb just to see how this O-line protects early. to let Alex Van Pelt, their offensive coordinator, kind of get his feet under him as a first-time play caller. I think Brissett's better. I think Maye's better. I think he's their future. But I just don't see them putting him out there week one. And as much as I would like to see him play, I actually don't think it's that good of an idea. Because as good as he's looked in the preseason and as confident as he's been, he gets rocked a couple times early. That could knock a rookie's confidence, especially if losses start stacking up. I don't expect this team to be very good as the receivers are young and inexperienced as well. I think Brissett starts, but I'll say this. I think Maye's in there sooner rather than later. If you asked me 3 weeks ago when would he start, I'd say, week 6, week 8, week 10. I could see him in there week 3, week 4 if it's really ugly for Brissett. But I think they're going to give him the chance as the veteran to start early, and then there will probably be a pretty quick hook early on in the season. Reports coming out of Houston, Jordan Schultz says that multiple teams have inquired about trading for John Metchie, who had a pretty strong preseason. Remember Metchie, who had a cancer diagnosis a couple years ago, beat that, didn't really play much last year, had a pretty good camp in preseason, but now the Texans have kind of loaded up at receiver. They've got Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs. I thought Xavier Hutchinson had a better preseason than him, so at best he's wide receiver 4 there, but really probably more like 5 or 6. Noah Brown is still there as well. It's unclear at this time if they'll trade him. It's kind of a tough one because him and CJ Stroud are tight, but A, is he going to play much? But B, how much is he worth in a trade? I mean, he got drafted in the 2nd round, but he's only got 2 years left on his rookie deal, and he's barely played. I mean, are you getting a 5th? Are you getting a 6th? Like, if it's not at least a 5, I'd probably just keep him if I'm Houston. But if some team's like, hey, I'll throw you a 4, I'd probably just trade him because he's not going to start for me this year, probably won't start for me next year. Then his contract is up. Are you keeping him? Is he staying there without an opportunity to start? So I'll be curious to see what his market is. I can't imagine a day 2 pick's on the table. If it is, that's a no-brainer. You get a 3rd-round pick, you trade him. Say, hey, man, good luck. Sorry it didn't work out here, so on and so forth. But I don't think that's going to be available because they're not going to start. Texans don't have any leverage here. So I'm sure they'll listen. I'm sure they're getting late-round pick offers, pick swaps, so on and so forth. But I like the player coming out, but he hasn't played much in 2 years. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. If I'm a GM trying to get him, I can't offer more than a 5th because there's just too much of an unknown there. The Chiefs brought in some receiver help. They bring back JuJu Smith-Schuster, who was on the 2022 Super Bowl team, led their receivers in yards that season. Kelsey was their number 1 receiving yards gained guy, but JuJu had 933 that year. Signed a 3-year deal with the Patriots. Was pretty bad last year. They cut him this year. He's had some knee issues, so Chiefs taking a 1-year flyer on him. I would assume he makes their initial roster here with 53-man rosters due tomorrow. There's been chatter that Kadarius Toney could get cut, so that's probably bad news for him. Does a guy like Mecole Hardman get cut with this news? Justin Ross, we'll see. But the Chiefs clearly know JuJu. They're comfortable with him if he's healthy. I'm just not sure he's healthy. He looked really slow last year, so feels like a depth, like not much risk type of move. Let's take a swing here. But, yeah, I mean, that receiver room with Rashee Rice, Marquise Brown, and Xavier Worthy, that top 3 is pretty solid and has some good speed, especially with Worthy and Brown. Is this insurance for Rashee Rice? Could a suspension come? His next court date's not until December, so I don't think anything will drop until then. The NFL in these recent cases typically lets the legal situation play out first, so I don't know if that's related or not. I think it's more of like, hey, he was here a couple years ago. We liked him. He played well for us. Vet minimum. Why not? Let's see what he can do. So I don't think the expectations for him are going to be that high, but certainly you could do worse for a vet minimum signing here in late August, 2 weeks until the season. All right, there you have it. Some NFL news and notes as we get closer to cut down day tomorrow. If there's any notable cuts or trades that drop, we'll hit you guys with another video. And again, we are like so close to 2,000 subs. Help us out. It's free. Hit the subscribe button. We will continue to bring you guys daily coverage. My name is Harrison Graham. We'll be back soon here on 4 Verts.